Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be transforming Richard the Betta fish's old aquarium here, which you can't even really see because of the light, into something that looks a lot better, has a ton of really awesome plants. We're also going to talk a lot about betta fish in general and their care and whatnot. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Also guys, important side note, Aquashella Dallas is happening in like approximately 1 month. So the end of March, this crazy new convention called Aquashella that I'm sure most of you have heard about is happening. I'm gonna be there, a ton of other YouTubers are gonna be there. It's gonna be an absolute blast. The first one was a huge success. They're doing it again. It's now twice a year. It's still gonna be in Chicago in August, but if you're anywhere near Dallas or in the state of Texas, I realize Texas is a massive state and you can still be several hours away, but even so, if there's a remote chance that you can make it, you should take advantage of it and you should do it. I'll have a link to get tickets down in the description, and I'm also gonna have a link for the new AQUAPROS t-shirts. They're finally out. I wanna see you guys wearing them at Aquashella if you can make it, and if I see you wearing one, I'll buy you a drink or a Coke or Sprite or whatever you're into, okay? But just make sure, like, you don't wanna miss this. There's gonna be a lot of live coverage still. You should try and go if you can make it. It's gonna be a blast. So this is Richard's old home. This is an Aquarium Ascent 6-gallon aquarium. You can see that it has this weird kind of sloping here from back to front. It's a little different, but it's been a tank that I've kind of liked, actually. I ended up getting this thing at Petco, but you can also find it on Amazon. So I'll put a link for it just in case you're curious. Maybe you're looking for a new betta fish tank. I think this is a pretty good one size-wise, and the dimensions aren't that bad either. Really hard to see in here, a lot of reflections just because we have all this Sylvinia covering the tank. So let's get rid of that real quick. Bettas do like floating plants, but this is too much. It just really choked everything out in here, and that's why we don't really have hardly any plant growth in here anymore. I do want to save some of this stuff though, so let's throw them down here in our little tub here. There we go, that's a lot easier to see. Now guys, today on this rescape, we're gonna be doing pretty much a complete overhaul. So we're gonna be taking out all the materials that you see right now, the dragonstone, the plants. Let's get a focus. And we're gonna be bringing in all new stuff. We are gonna keep the existing equipment though. We have a Fluval Nano LED up here, and we have just this really small Azu, I believe it's a 60 hang-on back filter, a smaller one. You can see it's really clogged up. So we need to clean that out and get a little bit better flow going through this thing. But this is a good filter. I like it for a tank this size because it doesn't create a ton of flow, and you can always adjust it to be more or less flow depending on how your tank is set up. Betta fish in general do not like to have hardly any flow in their tank. It's going to bother them if they're being blown around. So this is a filter that I've come to like for betta fish. There's certainly some other ones that are also really good as well. All of this is going to stay the same though. We just need to get working on tearing down the tank. Now that we have the tank empty, it's time we do a little bit of work on the substrate. So in here right now we have a combination of random sand and a little bit of fluval stratum. What I want to do is kind of mix it up a little bit, clean it, remove kind of like most of it, not all of it, but just enough to where we can put in a new layer of some new stuff that's going to help our plants to have everything that they need to grow. We're gonna go ahead and leave a decent amount of substrate in the aquarium because it's already chock full of good bacteria that this tank is used to, and it's gonna help to seed the new stuff that we put in. Speaking of the new stuff, we're gonna start here with a little bit of Brightwell Aquatics Lateran Base. This is a clay product. It's gonna be really great for our root feeding plants. I'm just gonna sprinkle in a little bit here in the front, and you'll see just how much this stuff kicks up a bunch of red clay. That's all right, that's not gonna be there for forever. Ideally, you would wash this stuff first, but it's not a problem. We're gonna go ahead and just push this older substrate over the top of it, and then do another little sprinkling here in the back. We're gonna do more than a couple water changes when the tank is all set up, so we'll get rid of all this excess stuff in the water. No big deal. Now we're going to cover that up with a little bit of new substrate. So this is the Rio Oscuro. This is the fine version. So it's going to have a little bit smaller granule size. And it is, of course, this black color to match what we already have. The substrate's done, we got that in. Now all we have to do is build our hardscape. For this aquarium, it's gonna be ultra simple. I'm only gonna use one rock for this whole thing. It's this smooth rock right here. It's a sentimental rock to me, that's all I'm gonna say. We're gonna position it in the tank, and then everything else is gonna be plants. So it's gonna be kind of like a Dutch style tank when it's all said and done. That's my idea at least. We'll see how it turns out. But that's pretty much all we have to do. So here's the finished product, guys. I put Richard back in and then I let the tank settle out, did a couple water changes, and then waited a couple days before I wanted to show it off, just so everything was super crystal clear and you guys could really see the tank. Over the last 8 months or so, Richard's been having a little bit of color changes going on his fins. You can see that he has quite a bit of red now on both his top and bottom finnage, and it seems to be just part of his genetic makeup, his natural maturation process. At first glance you might say, oh, that looks like it could be fin rot, but no, he's perfectly fine. He's been doing great. He's always super energetic, always eating, and he doesn't have any of the other signs that go along with fin rot. So this just seems to be part of his development process. If you look extra close at the red areas of his fins, you might be able to see that it looks like there could be pinholes, which is a sign of fin rot, but in fact it's just some of the leftover black coloration that his fins originally had. As soon as I noticed that, before I had a really good understanding of what was going on, he did go through the deluxe treatment for fin rot, and you know, nothing changed, because again, it's just part of what's going on with him naturally. And another interesting thing is that his scaling has also receded slightly. So before it looked like he was developing scales covering his eyes, which is not atypical for these dragon scale betas, but since then everything's just kind of reversed itself a little bit. Again, he's still very happy, healthy, doing absolutely fine. It just seems to be part of what's been going on with him as he's gotten older. Richard is loving this tank. He's always cruising around, just checking out the new space that he's in, getting used to all the different new plant locations and whatnot, and kind of learning like where he likes to hide out. So in this aquarium, you know, we use the dwarf hairgrass down here at the bottom for mainly aesthetics, you know, but then the plants that we have over here, like the one that I can't remember that kind of looks like a crypt, is there because it has big leaves, okay? Betta fish like plants that they can rest on. This is a great place for him to relax, kick back, and just enjoy himself. There's also lots of other hiding places for him, like over here in the Rotala. And don't forget, the Altananthera rennicki that's over here is also going to grow up fairly tall as well. So once this tank grows in, there's going to be just a ton of places for him to chill, relax, hide, and lay on stuff. That's really important for betta fish. The only hardscape piece that we have in the tank is this one smooth rock here. And so again, there's nothing sharp in the tank. He's not going to be, you know, poking himself on anything. With a fish like this, particularly this type of betta that doesn't have super long finnage, it's not as big of a deal, but if he was, you know, like a veil tail or something that has really crazy fins, then we wouldn't want to have anything sharp in this tank, but we don't anyway, so it's all good. Sorry guys, you're just gonna have to deal with the reflection of the camera in here, no way around it. But one thing that we didn't talk about on this aquarium was the heater. I had already removed it right after I took Richard out, but this is a flat style heater. It's made by Aquarium, and I believe it's 7.5 watts. I've heard that people don't like these heaters just because they don't have the thermostat, and I would agree with that, but because I keep this room at like 72, 73, this heater seems to be just fine. If we take a look here at the digital thermometer, it's about 77. These things aren't the most accurate things in the world, but that's pretty close. And so that's a really great temperature. If you have a betta fish of any kind, you want to make sure that you're keeping it as close to 78 and even, you know, as close to 80 as possible. They really like those warmer temperatures. It's just going to help them not get stressed out, and they're going to be better off health-wise. I decided that I was going to keep some of the Sylvinia in this tank. I'm going to try and keep it at this amount though, so as new stuff grows, I'll remove it. I definitely don't want it to get overgrown and choke out the plants below it like it did last time, especially because a lot of these plants like to have higher light. Another reason why I like this Aquarium Ascent tank is that it comes with the lid. I've made some modifications to it. I had to take the LEDs that were stuck onto it off because I was, again, going to be using a different light source, the fluval light, and then I had to scrape off the black coating that was over it. But moral of the story is a lid is always a good idea to have on a betta fish tank. Richard doesn't seem to have jumping in his personality too much. Other betta fish can be the opposite of that though, so no matter what you do, I think a lid is always a good idea. Another good idea for a betta fish aquarium is to add something that will produce tannins. So in this case, I have some Indian almond leaves that are behind the rotala. I don't know if you're going to be able to see them. It was one that was already pre-soaked, the one that was already in the tank before we started. But here's a pack of a few dried ones that I have. They will float initially, but after some time they will sink, and this is going to help to increase the tannin load in the aquarium. They're also going to slightly turn the water a little brownish, which I know a lot of people might not like, but that doesn't last forever. As you do water changes, it'll get a little bit more clear, and it's just something that the fish is really going to appreciate. So I make sure to always have at least one in there, even if it doesn't produce a super brown coloration. You know, it's still a source of some tannins that the fish is going to appreciate. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to do it, I think, for the rescape of Richard's tank. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned a couple pointers for your own betta fish tank. You know, it's definitely something that you want to learn about before you rush into getting a betta fish, but it's not super complicated. Just try and get your hands on as many plants as you can. These fish love to be in a jungle. They don't like a ton of open space. Richard does have a lot of room in this aquarium, but as the plants grow and it turns into more of a jungle, it's going to get even better for him. He's going to like it even more. The AQUAPROS, or the members of the channel, got to see this tank a few days ago, a little sneak peek. So if you like what I'm doing, if you want to help support the channel, consider becoming a member because you get to see all kinds of sneak peeks of what I'm doing. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you like the video, or if you just like Richard. He's got probably more fans than I do. Anyway, guys, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.